the same a grade below you or something. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But luckily, her blood cousin said she lied to him, said she was 15, and she even told me that she did want to have intercourse with him and asked me to go back there with her. And it's like, and then as soon as they said that, they're like, case dropped. And her cousin said she was just afraid that if her dad found out she wasn't a virgin, that she was going to be in such big trouble and grounded for all this time. And yeah, it was crazy. So that's why I'm in the aspect of
how many people have that story?
A lot. And that's why I don't always believe the victims, because sometimes women accuse you of that stuff just because they could say yes, but you go out and it ends up being a one-night stand. You go out and date some other girl, and then they get mad at you for it, and they decide to want to get back at you. And so, yes, I do think that if it's a vindictive claim, there should be some type of criminal prosecution for a crying wolf. Because what that does is that hurts the true victims. It makes it harder to believe the true victims when you have all the other smaller percentage that are not the true victims that try to play the victim. And that's why I think there should be a punishment for that, because I want the true victims to get justice. Mm-hmm. I can't stand. I always asked. I always took no for an answer. That was one thing I was raised to do is if you get a no, that's it. You walk away.
But that's it though. But let's say you're facing 20 years in prison and they're okay with putting you there just to protect their reputation. However, what I would go so far as to say whatever time you would have gotten in prison had you been found guilty, the person pushing that on you and trying to convict you and lying on you, that should become their charge. They should immediately go to prison for the amount of time that you would have gotten. That's just my take on it.
Did you not get it back up on
it YouTube? Is. It's back up there.
Oh, it's just on the one form and not the other. Like, see, I've only gotten one chat, like hardly any views on the wide form, but the top and bottom form, I had like 48 views already. I mean, the majority of the views, I get more views on the other ones, but yeah, it's for some reason I get more views on that long form. Right. So if we want to go and get switched to, I guess we can start going through some of the.
Yeah. So the first one that I'll bring up is obviously you're talking about Trump being mentioned. Trump goes on to say that he's in the letter. Obviously, he put that long statement out on X, and he's saying that things were postmarked wrong. Here, let's not misquote him. Let me read that and preface this because this is what he's referring to when he makes this statement. Epstein Files, and he says that basically not to trust the information. I mean, in short form, because the information that was put out is definitely he's saying that the DOJ, the FBI, and so forth were all ran by people like Lisa Page and these types. And he talks about it right here in this interview that we'll play before we bring up the letters.
Want people to get hurt. You can't have people associated. First of all, the files were run by some very bad people and very sick people like Comey and Lisa, the whole group, all those people in that office, they ran those files for 4 years. And if they were going to use the files, they would have used it before my election. Right. Because unless they're stupid, which to a certain extent they are stupid.
You're saying they would have released the information.
Well, they had the files. They control the files. Yes. I didn't control the files. They control the files for 4 years. So if they had something, they would have released it before the election.
Let's talk about that before we get into this. He says if they had the files, they would have released them. They would have used them on him. I have to agree.
I do too. And everybody goes, oh, no, it's going to be, no, everything that President Trump, his DOJ and Congress has done to release these Epstein files could have been done under Biden. Also, my other aspect is if they had all this stuff under Epstein, these files aren't new. They've had these files since the early 2000s. Some of the pictures are new from the Epstein estate, but those were never included in evidence in any of the files. So these files are 90s and 2005, 2006, 2013, all before President Trump's first run. So why did we hear nothing about Epstein in 2015 and 16?
Well, it goes beyond that. Why did Epstein, when he was found guilty of the first charge, walk in and out of prison and take lunches with many notable leftists, Hollywood types? Chelsea Handler was going to dinner with Epstein, and this was after he was found guilty of this inappropriate behavior with minors. She continued to go visit with him, to have dinner with him, all of these things, right? So why was he allowed in and out of prison? You and I wouldn't have been allowed to come and go from prison.
Well, I mean, of course, but I mean, as we saw earlier, we can talk about this later, but we saw that letter from Kim Jong-un, or he wrote a letter to Kim Jong-un, which could go into the fact that he did do some honey potting for the CIA, and that's why I really wish I had Joe on here, because he did military intelligence. He was actually a captive in Venezuela. President Trump just got him out at the very first of the year. He was down in Venezuela for something and got arrested there. And then once Venezuela found out he was former military intelligence, of course, they treated him like a prisoner of war. I mean, they kind of like Russia loves to do, charge him with something BS. And so Trump got him released, but he has real big theories on this about, and understands kind of the way that the CIA does this stuff and how he would have worked with it, that pretty much his job would have been to get world leaders like Kim Jong-un or President Xi or whatever in compromising positions with photos.
I don't know how badly it would have affected leaders like Kim Jong-un. He could do that on broadcast TV in his country and it wouldn't matter.
Yeah, but like President Xi, that could be a different story. Because
his people,
Chinese are very old. They're more old school. Yeah.
Honorable.
But definitely Japan and Europe and England.
But when you go through the history in a linear format, you have to talk about how Epstein became Epstein. Epstein failed out of college, right? First and foremost. After that, he went and he worked at a financial institution, fired again. Same thing, inappropriate behavior with young girls. And then next thing you know, Epstein is teaching college. Now, I've never heard of anyone failing out of college and then going and becoming a professor in college. Loses that job. He gets introduced to Robert Maxwell, Ghislaine's dad. Ghislaine's dad was blamed for a lot of things, including running weapons and many other terrible things and money for the for Mossad and in the United States even. So he introduces him to Ghislaine Maxwell. Later on, he ends up unalive, and Epstein seems to have taken over where Robert Maxwell left off, right? So you got to look, when you're looking at Epstein, you have to look at Epstein through the eyes of, whoa, what was Robert Maxwell doing? And then apply those same things to Jeffrey Epstein.
Well, and
according
to my co-host, also, if you look at Epstein's dad, he had ties back to MI6.
Yes. I mean, intelligence agencies, especially in NATO countries, are intelligence agencies. They almost act like one apparatus. Imagine you and I are both dubbed intelligence agents. Most of us come out of college. We're recruited in college, and we get introduced to these people. We all know each other. We're one big club, and we trade favors. You do me this favor and tell me about this, and I'll tell you about that, and I'll tell you about this. It's a web of lies.
Yeah, and that's why I'm thinking, that's my explanation of how he got that teaching job after failing out of college. Is his dad was a former MI6 agent. Obviously, CIA recruits from a lot of these Ivy League and higher universities, and maybe a CIA agent in the United States owed his dad a favor, and it's like, hey, give my son this job. I mean, you don't know. It could have been that. It could have been a favor for his dad or whatever.
But I mean, what always gives me pause, looking back at the history of all that, is if even if you're, that's the case, if you're a dad and you know what you're doing and you know the terrible things that you do and to people and in life in general, do you as a father introduce your daughter to the guy that you're going to have take over doing what you're doing? I mean, absolutely not. Most fathers would say, I don't want my daughter anywhere near what I'm doing. I know I'm a POS, but I want her to be better than me. I want her to have a better life. I want her to have better values. All right. Even mafia members felt this way for their children. They would never include their children in what they were doing. Well, most of them, until they got old enough. I mean, if you were a boy, it was expected of you. All right. To a degree. But they would still much rather have their sons and daughters go to college and be somebody different outside of that life.
Well,
if they had the option.
I'm not a bad person. I still want my kids to be better than me. I still want them to be more successful than me. I mean, that's why I work so hard. That's why I went to get my bachelor's and then my master's and then my doctorate. I mean, that's why I tried to come out of I could do a whole episode on this, but pretty much if you knew where I came from, I beat every statistic there is.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up with a single mom, 2 kids, no college degree, only a high school degree, lived in the white ghetto, the trailer park. She worked 2 to 3 jobs, never took welfare. And I mean, every statistic says, especially with the issues I struggled with when I was 18 and stuff, drugs and all that. I mean, I should have been dead 3 times over from a drug overdose or whatever, been in prison. Sure. I was actually facing 19 years to life, 19 years in San Quentin. And by the grace of God, I was literally, I didn't even know it was weird. Their systems were so screwed up. I'd gotten a CDL, been driving. It happened in 2006, 2012. All of a sudden, I go to purchase a firearm in Texas and it goes, you're denied. And so I'm like, I paid off all of my tickets. I don't have any. I'm like, all right, Mom, call, out in California. I'm trying to think of the name. I can't think of the name right now. I was like, call and see if she goes, yeah, they said you got a bench warrant out for your arrest. And I'm like, huh? Because they let me out of my own recognizance. So I was young. I didn't know what I thought that meant. I was good. Because in the state of Texas, you don't get let out in your own recognizance. If you got a charge, you see a judge, you see a judge, get a hearing, then you get bail. And so anyways, I called the attorney and they go, what did you do? The FBI's got your shit. And I'm like, I told them I'm not going to speak everything on here, but it had to do with pills and stuff and going to Mexico, coming back.
He went to the La Farmacia in Mexico.
But anyway, so, and then all of a sudden, like, they go in, they say, they go have the first hearing. They're like, okay, you got 15 minutes. No, it was Somas, not Xannies. Well, actually, Xannies too. It was Somas and Xannies. But they call me and they're like, yeah, you're looking at 19 years. And I'm like, well, I ain't coming out there. They're going to have to come get me. I was like, if I get convicted, I was like, I'm not coming out there. I live in Texas. Y'all in California. So for the next month and a half, I just pray to God, please, please let me get off. I promise I'll turn my life around if you don't get convicted. And then 2 months I hadn't heard from them. And so I finally called them. I said, what's going on? They go, oh, I'm sorry. Your case got dismissed without prejudice because the evidence locker or storage place that had your evidence in it got burned down in a fire.
Yeah, thank God, right?
So they had to dismiss it without prejudice because there was no evidence.
Well, I'll tell you what, Nevada, you're having no such luck. We're extraditing your ass for every single thing. So we're bringing you wherever it is you're going.
But I think California was like, okay, we have no evidence. Yeah, we have the blood test, even though the blood's been destroyed because it was with the evidence, but we still have the physical test itself. To prove what was in his system, but he's not in California. He's not living here. We don't have evidence. There's a good chance he could get off or get very reduced. So they just dismissed it. And I was like, thank you, Lord. And that's when I was like, that really brought my faith up that I was like, okay, God does have something planned better for me. And after that, it was a couple of years of struggling finally. And then finally, when I was able to met my wife now, and I was able to come out the road and go back and get my degrees and stuff, I'm like, all right. So now I'm starting to see the path he had for me. He just made me take a long road to get there.
Well, and that's just it, dude. I think everyone does something stupid. I think if everyone was honest, I've never met someone who's not a felon. I just met a lot of people who haven't gotten caught. Right. That's all there is. It's all there is in politics. It's all there is in life. Just people who haven't gotten caught. That's just, if everyone is completely 100% honest with themselves. But let's go down the list of the people that have tried to get Trump on this particular issue and who failed. Epstein's lawyer cleared Trump. Epstein himself cleared Trump. The victims cleared Trump multiple times. NBC thought they were going to get at least one victim out of the 10 they had on their panel to say Trump was there, and got embarrassed on air, and they said no. The victims that were there in DC at the Capitol on the rotunda said no. Over and over and over again, victims have said no. And then if we just take a look at this letter, there it is. So it says, girls, when a young beauty walked by, he loved to grab, snatch. I hate even reading this, but snatch. I'm just going to read this. This is not how I talk. Love to grab, snatch, where we ended up snatching grab in the mess hall of he's got some terrible handwriting of the system. Life is unfair. Yours, Jeffrey Epstein. And then, dear LN, that's Larry Nasser. As you know, by men, I have talked the shit. I've taken the shit route home. Good luck. We shared one thing, our love and caring for young ladies. And yes, hope they'd reach their full potential. Our president also shares our love of young nubiles. So that is the big like gotcha moment all of a sudden they're trying to use for Trump, right? They're trying to use that gotcha moment because they say at the end of that letter, our president likes young girls.
Yeah,
that's a fact.
This troll guy, that's the funny thing.
Troll, brother. He's been on here for years.
Oh, I know, but I'm saying is because he's on your page and I'm only signed into my X, I can't actually comment to him because X doesn't work on the full.
No. If you comment there, he won't see it, but he can hear you. But no, he does like young girls. He does like young girls. Look, I mean, he does like young women in general. His wife is 30 years younger than he is.
But that doesn't make him a pedophile.
Ivanka was a lot younger than he was. His wife before Ivanka was a lot younger than he was. So we still don't have any evidence that Trump was with a minor or was even involved in this in any damn way. Even the lawyer for Epstein, like I said, cleared him and said Trump was completely helpful. He answered all of our questions, returned all of our calls. And then the slip up happened in the hallway of Congress when they said Trump was basically an FBI informant. Later on, Mike Johnson tried to walk that back. But that's exactly what you would do if somebody was truly an informant for the FBI. Yeah. You can't put that out there.
Right. Yeah.
So I think that was like a Freudian slip.
I think they used the real estate deal as a cover because of why they had the falling out. The story I've heard and Trump has told and other people have told is that Jeffrey Epstein was trying to recruit the daughter of a longtime employee of his that was like
Virginia Gupre.
Yeah. And that's when he kicked him out, is when he finally was trying to do that. And then also it's like, we knew he was a billionaire playboy when we elected him. We knew he liked younger women than him that were in their 20s or 30s or, I mean, early 20s, late 20s, early 30s. We knew that when we elected him. I mean, obviously it's not, you can like younger women. It doesn't say on that note.
Yeah. Little girls.
It doesn't say underage. It doesn't say, it just says younger. It says younger women. I mean, it
says nubiles, young nubile.
Yeah, young nubiles, which nubiles is just a younger women. It doesn't say. But the funny thing is they say he liked to grab snatch, but yet
he said that too.
But he said, yeah, but that's banter and locker room talk. Because if any girls from the Miss America pageants to the Tropicana, Sun, whatever, have always stated that he was a total gentleman when he was around them. That if he came back into the dressing room, he'd make sure they were fully clothed and that he would knock and be like, are y'all dressed? Are y'all clothed? And obviously, yeah, he commented on their beauty and everything, but how is that bad? I mean, you tell a girl she's beautiful, so what? But as far as I like to grab snatch and stuff, that's locker room talk. And while it's maybe not locker room talk as much anymore, and I explained this the other night, is back in the 50s, right, going up in the 50s, 60s, 70s, that's how men talk to each other. That's how they thought they were supposed to talk to each other. And women are just as bad. They do the same thing.
Worse. I don't know how many women you grew up listening to and they thought you were out of earshot, but they are the nastiest people on face of earth, dude. Like, wives get together. Oh my God. They'll make you blush.
I know. Okay. You've been to a strip club, right?
No.
Oh, a female strip club.
Never.
Okay.
I've never been.
Well, you go to a female strip club. The men just sit there, throw some dollars, maybe stick a $20 bill in the thing, get a lap dance. All right. When I was 18, when I was like 19, 20, just fresh out of the military, I was a male dancer for a little bit, and I could not get.
Agreed with you. Sorry,
I could not get
bitty girls there agreeing with you. Yeah,
but I could not get an inch within the stage, and those women were trying to rip my clothes off. Like, the men never tried to rip the girls' clothes off, but if I got too close to the stage, I was almost getting pulled off because they were grabbing my pants, grabbing this. I mean, they were so wild. It was night and day going from a female strip club for men where girls strip to where I was dancing for women. And it's like, Lord have mercy. They are way worse than they try to play they are.
That's what the Viking was saying yesterday. Even the security guys, they would gnaw at and put whipped cream on. And I don't know, man. I live in Vegas and I still have never ever seen. The closest I ever came to going in a place like that was one time they sent me to a spot to grab lunch, and it turned out to be a damn brothel, but it had a restaurant in the front. And in order to get to the spot where people were doing that craziness, you had to go through this giant green door, and it was on the other side of the green door. I just went in there and grabbed from the restaurant portion of it and got the hell out of Dodge.
I mean, I enjoyed them when I was younger, and that was also because I don't know if you know who Pantera is, right?
Of course. Phil Anselmo, Dimebag Darrell, of course.
Okay, Dimebag Darrell was my uncle's best friend. My uncle actually learned how to play guitar from Dimebag Darrell because Dimebag Darrell went to Arlington High School. They had a mansion out in a little town by Arlington. And so I grew up around Pantera. And Vinnie Paul had a strip club, or I don't think he doesn't have anymore, but he had a strip club in Dallas. So I would always get invited to their parties there and go in there and stuff. So, and it was free for me. He gave me liquor. He'd pay for my lap dances, give me money for that. So it was free for me. So I just went because I was there. I was actually there for their damage plan launch party before they let. I was with them 3 days before Dimebag got shot on tour.
Yeah, he went on stage in that small nightclub. Yeah.
But I was with them 3 days prior to that at the launch party, partying on their tour bus with them. I mean, I grew up with them. I mean,
I prayed for the day that they would reconcile and all that, and hoping that Phil Anselmo and them would get over themselves. And
that lead singer was just a total. Trust me, it was him. He thought he was everything. He thought he was the shit. He thought he was Pantera, that he didn't need anybody else. He was a total dickhead. Like, they still hung out some. Like, I remember the first time I met him when I was older at the strip club, and he was a total asshole to me. I was like, look, tell Vinny, Andrew, I'm not going to say his last name, nephew is here. He goes, fine. And he walks over to Vinny, and Vinny's like, come on over. I mean, all I had to do, because as soon as I said my uncle's name, he knew who I was. And he was like, yeah, come on in. But man, he was just a total douche. I mean, really. The lead singer was the reason why they broke up. He was just a total douchebag. I mean, yeah, he was good, but really the Pantera was the riffs on the bass and the guitar. It was the guitar playing that really made the Pantera songs.
I don't know, man. I was a Phil Anselmo fan, dude. I loved Dom Hollow, Cemetery Gates, 5 Minutes Alone, Cowboys from Hell. I was an avid fan. Far Beyond Driven was the very first album in the heavy metal genre that ever made #1. Very first one. So they definitely, I'm a fan for life.
Like my uncle, the band he played in actually opened for him before they became really big. Like I used to go to their house in their in-home studio before they became Pantera when they were just a local garage band around Dallas, Fort Worth. And and they kept down to earth. Like I remember I think it was 99 when the Dallas Stars won their first Stanley Cup, and the Stanley Cup got broken off the top part of Vinnie and Diamondback's mansion, thrown in the pool. I was at that party. I was at that one because Vinnie and Diamondback threw parties all the time. They didn't care how old you were. Their only rule was you had to bring a case of beer or a couple bottles of liquor. But all right, well, let's get back on.
That's beyond me. But
back on
Trump's relationship with Epstein was real, but it was limited. It was limited from the 90s all the way into the 2000s. In the social scene, they had common friends among the two of them, celebrities, politicians, but Bill Clinton flew far more often on the Lolita Express. We also seen pictures of Bill Clinton getting his back rubbed in airports. The flight manifest shows where he was going, where he landed. Now we have images of Clinton on Lolita Island in the hot tub. And so there's no denying that this guy actually has, I'm trying to find it here, ties to Epstein. And here's one of the redacted photos that somebody posted that they were able to grab before it was scrubbed. So that's Bill Clinton right there. And that is on Lolita Island. So that is actually at Jeffrey Epstein's estate.
Yeah. And
you can't find anything like that of Trump.
And if you go look through all the flight logs of Trump, he is going from Palm Beach to New Jersey, which is where you would land because you can't take a private jet to JFK. You have to land there in Teterboro, and then you go home to New York. And also, I mean, Epstein was a financier. He probably invested and financed in a lot of Trump's real estate projects. I mean, the only plane flights I can see is them going like except there's like maybe one flight where it was just Trump, but the majority of the time he had Eric. He had his first wife with him, the nanny with him. He had not Laura, but his daughter with him. I mean, he has family with him. He's not with 16 or he's not going to be with a 13-year-old girl with his family there.
Well, there were a few flights where Ghislaine was on in the spirit of full disclosure, but she wasn't there with Trump alone, nor were they flying to the island. They were flying from Florida to New York. And I know this because I actually read the files. But this is what they do all too often. And this guy on CNN, I forget his name, but right now, but I'm sure they'll show it on here. He is a defender. I mean, he's the token conservative on the CNN deal, right? So here it is.
Don't you think that because they are not releasing everything that Congress and the president signed to say you have to release this in 30 days, doesn't it give more fodder for the conspiracies that exist? I mean, they're not following the law.
Well, look, they've released how many documents tonight? 200,000?
More?
400?
10% of that.
Let me ask you that same question that she just asked. When people are less than transparent, I think that's where 90% of our conspiracy theories come from. I hate to say I agree with her, but I do.
Yeah. And that's where, like I said in my opening, the DOJ should have been transparent at the time. But they did say this, but nobody played it. And they originally said when they were doing they would release any documents that are not currently involved in an investigation or under investigation, which that's why they admitted that the documents they were releasing now is that they were still trying to verify the validity of them. Now, somebody in my live earlier on TikTok said that they released a statement earlier today that the handwriting analysis came back on that card or something, and it wasn't actually Jeffrey Epstein or something, or that wasn't legitimate.
Yeah, it was the handwriting was, they tried to say the handwriting didn't match. They also said that the postmark was after the death of Epstein, like the letter would have been sent later. And the return address was the wrong address. So everything about the letter in and of itself was completely wrong.
Even though the letter itself doesn't prove he did anything with minors, it just proves that he was talking locker room banner with his boys and likes women younger than him. I mean, that's true. Everybody knows that. Anybody could have wrote that. I mean, come on, he was a billionaire playboy. I mean,
let's hear the rest of it.
10%
of that.
Okay, so a good faith effort is being made to release files tonight.
Really?
They're obviously doing that, and I think as it relates to redactions, I mean, my impression is that there's a whole lot of names of victims in there and minors and other people that you probably wouldn't want to release, and they do need to be redacted. Regarding Bill Clinton, I'm sorry to tell you, the reason that Bill Clinton's picture is in the Epstein Files is because this has always been a story about Bill Clinton and not Donald Trump. We should call it the Clinton Files, not the Epstein Files. That's what we're learning tonight. This is the Clinton Files. This is the blowing up in the face of the Democrats over this. It's Bill Clinton. This is a story about Democrats and Bill Clinton. And it's always been.
Well, they're quick to defend. I don't say Bill Clinton's name. Don't say Bill Clinton's name.
Well,
but
that's why.
Well,
that's why in our title. That's why in the title it says Clinton Files. I've even put that because, I mean, look, if you look at all those pictures, the majority of them are landscape. I honestly think Bill Clinton shows up more than Epstein.
In a lot of cases.
And the really damning photo is the one of Epstein or Ghislaine Maxwell taking a picture of Bill Clinton walking off of Air Force One in Bali. Well, because he was a sitting president at that time. There's no way a sitting president is going to fly on a private jet. He's going to have to be on Air Force One. Secret Service isn't going to let it happen. Unless
you are doing something off schedule, right?
But,
and we know they do that. As a matter of fact, if you saw the content that I released as of yesterday, I showed enough of I had to censor it a bit because there were names and things and stuff like that I couldn't put out. But Nate Kane with ICNO, who is the Benghazi one whistleblower, came on and they were talking about Osama bin Laden being alive in Iran. They released the audio files. They released a phone call with Edinger, Joe Biden's lawyer and his longtime buddy and best friend, Lieberman, Bill Richardson's involvement. And then they go on to show you the picture of them handing this thumb drive to Matt Gaetz. Matt Gaetz takes the thumb drive and said, guys, this is some scary shit. Within 2 weeks of that happening, Matt Gaetz is being blackmailed by the DOJ, where Matt Gaetz says, yeah, they wanted me to get some spy out of Iran for the $25 million. They said they needed that money for a ransom to get him out. It wasn't some spy, people. It was Osama bin Laden. That's the big news. That's the crazy part, because everyone thinks bin Laden was the guy that was in the house in Pakistan that they raided, but many people will tell you that it wasn't. And then there was the funny stuff that happened about throwing him in the water because we had to obey Islamic law about burying them within 24 hours.
With no DNA taken. But
no DNA.
Troll, I know about the Bilderberg Group and the Council of Foreign Relations and all that. Well,
and the Trilateral Commission.
Yeah, we're not going to get into that on this one. I did a whole podcast on that before. So no, I understand. But a lot of this has to do with it. But it's also the fact of the reason I know why he was on Air Force One. If you actually look at the pictures of what Jeffrey Epstein's jet looked, I mean, it had like plushies and like fur and everything all over it. If you look at the plane that shows Bill Clinton with the girl sitting on his lap, that is Air Force One. You can tell by the setup, you can tell by the decor, and that's the same plane they went to Bali in. It may not be the Boeing 747, it might be the other one, but it was Air Force One.
But this is not the plane. This is not Air Force One, and this is the young girl massaging Bill Clinton in the airport when Jeffrey Epstein's plane had to take an emergency landing. And there he is with the girl that he was on the plane with getting a massage in the airport, but they would act like that doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. Let's not talk about that. We want, it's got to be Trump or nothing.
Now, the only picture I see you have on here, and that's the one with Michael Jackson. I don't think those are underage girls. I honestly think those are
No,
Oprah
that's not who
Winfrey's
that
kids.
is. That's not who that is. That is Michael Jackson's children.
Oh, it's Michael. Okay, MJ's
yes.
children.
So
Okay.
who that's Paris and Michael right there with Diana Ross. And this is one of those tricks, guys. This is a trick that the media loves to play. They love to, if they can redact something and then try to make you think that the reason they redacted it is because the people's faces who were redacted were victims. You'll fill in the blanks for them. So in fact, you're doing what they like when they put out the letter from the guy, Michael Wolff from USA Today, and he was conversating with Larry Summers, right? That letter redacted Virginia Giuffre's name, but they wanted to redact it and put it out because then you would think that that person on that letter was a victim and that Trump might be liable. But the reason they redacted it was because Virginia Giuffre had already testified that Trump never even so much as hit on her. So they did more damage with the redaction than they did with showing you the actual document.
Well, also a lot of those redactions in there, especially if you're in if they're in public places and stuff, is all right. So any type of actor, actress, politician has no perception of privacy. They know that there's always going to be somebody following them. There's always going to be, okay. But if they're at a business meeting or stuff and you've got a picture of Epstein, President Trump, President Bill Clinton, Obama, whatever, a couple senators or Congress members, but then you have a bunch of other just no name businessmen or even those people's families, they have a right to privacy. They have an expectation of privacy. So unless they give the okay, the only time they don't have an expectation of privacy is if they believe that those showing their faces could actually help solve a case or something. But other than that, if they are considered a nobody or has no context to the picture, then they have an expectation of privacy. And unless they approve for their picture to be shown, they have to redact those. So not all of them are necessarily victims. It's kind of easy to tell when they're victims. Like there's one picture that they're like a reception or something. I think it was at the Bali King's wedding or something, or Prince's wedding or something. And they brought redacted a bunch of faces, including some of them were men. Obviously, there was another one where they redacted like all the Secret Service agents because obviously Secret Service agents need to stay secret. They don't need their identities out. So not every redaction is necessarily a victim, but
here's
the
that
majority
same girl.
is.
Here's that same girl. Well, look at Clinton. He's chummy, huh?
Well, I guess she
is with Jeffrey Epstein. Same girl.
Yeah, but she must have gave permission for her to. She must be a victim that said her face can be shown.
But that's what I mean. I mean, like if people are trying to say, well, how do you know that girl is whatever, right? Outside of a masseuse, she's wearing like a masseuse's like scrubs and all that in that photo. But there she is, not wearing them scrubs, and she's at some type of soiree with Bill Clinton, and then you see her sitting at lunch with Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah.
Right.
So they probably didn't redact her face because she's one of the victims that have come out and okayed it.
So but that's what I mean. The press plays games with people by redactions. They want you to fill in the blanks. They want you to assume the victimhood of the person whose face is blacked out in the photo. So you run wild with your conspiracy theories, and they don't have to. They don't have to say anything. We didn't do anything wrong. We redacted the photo, right? We redacted that line in that letter and that email. We blanked it out, knowing full stop that the reason they did that is so that you would assume the rest.
Yep. But haven't we noticed that like all of the pictures of Trump are at public events? They're not on Epstein's plane. They're not
right. They're public photos.
They're not in New Mexico at his ranch, which some of the stuff did happen there. It was either his New Mexico ranch or the island. And Trump has never been pictured at the island or the New Mexico ranch. It has only been in New York and in Florida. And the majority of them are like Christmas balls or political events or like nonprofit events or something like that. And it's like, that doesn't mean you know what that person's doing. And it's like, until the case has come out in 2004, nobody knew how long it had been going. And if you weren't part of the inner circle that went to the island and stuff, and he hadn't, because obviously he's not going to go up to everybody he knows and say, hey, you want me to procure you a 12-year-old? I mean, because then obviously he's going to go to prison faster. He probably had a select few of people that came to him that knew some roundabout way that he could do that. He did that, and it was that select group that went to the island. But he's not going to just walk up to every person. Just because you know him doesn't make you guilty.
Yeah, no. I mean, he was a public figure, and as a result of him being a public figure, he's been in a lot of places where other people were. And just because there is a picture of you with him does not necessarily make you aligned with what he was doing after hours or behind closed doors. But let's talk about behind closed doors, because then, damn it, every time I look, there's another Clinton photo. It's just crazy. I mean, he looks like he's completely innocent there, though.
But it looks like this one, he's naked.
Oh, which that's what I mean, innocent. Dude, come on. Don't you just go into strange hotel rooms like everybody else with women and get rub downs? I mean, that's what you do.
Naked. Yeah, I mean,
yeah, that's what you do.
Yeah.
Let's talk some more about Trump, though. Let's just keep throwing Trump's name out there, and let's just keep talking about Trump and ignore all this stuff, because that's what they want us to do. They want us to ignore this because Trump's name was at the bottom of a letter that said "Our President" and full stop. Now let's just forget about.
Well, it didn't say Trump. It just said "Our President."
Right.
And so know what I think? I think that
you
letter.
Know, it's funny that letter was written in the late '90s. Come to think of it.
Yeah. So it would have been mailed Clinton.
It would have been Clinton,
because Clinton was 90 to 98, because he would have ran the 89 campaign, got into office, or ran in 90, got into office in 91. He would have gotten out in 98 or 99, and then it was Bush. Because it would have been sometime during his second term.
You mean that guy with that young girl right there? Just where's Hillary? Hillary must be sitting over here somewhere. I don't know. She's probably sitting just out of eye shot there.
We know him and Hillary. Him and Hillary only married for the power. She only married him because it's a business relationship. It's not a love.
Hillary's a beard.
Yeah, I mean, they're literally just married for the power and the relationship. And I mean, obviously, because there's been signs of him cheating on her since Monica Lewinsky and what was the one before Monica Lewinsky? Because everybody wants to say, "Oh,
Flowers."
No, the one that sued him, that he paid $800.
Flowers.
No, it was a different one. There was a different one that was named.
Talking about with the cigar and all that.
No, not that was Monica Lewinsky, but there was another girl.
No. The cigar was Flowers.
No, because remember it was Monica Lewinsky, and he stuck it up her snatch
Hooch.
In the Oval Office.
Hooch, man, come on.
but in the Oval Office, and then it was I'm trying to remember the name, but there was another woman that came out towards the beginning of his presidency that accused him of infidelity or rape or something like that, or affair, and he paid $850 million to. And I can't think of her name right now. I had it pulled up. I just don't remember where I looked it at, which of my Chat GPT ones it's on.
Oh, I can find out real quick.
Yeah. And so, that's why I was like, everybody tries to say, "Oh, Trump had to pay what's her name," and I'm like, well, what about Bill Clinton's
Paula Jones?
Lawsuit? Yeah, Paula Jones. I'm like, well, what about Paula Jones? Bill Clinton did the same thing, and y'all didn't want him arrested or put in prison or impeached, and he got accused just like Trump did by Paula Jones, and he settled for $850 million.
800. How do you have 850 million damn dollars?
Well, 850,000. I mean, yeah, I think it was 850,000 back then.
It was 850,000. That's what it was.
Yeah, but back then, that's a lot of money today.
And he paid it out in November of 1998. But if you look at his presidency and even the precursor to his presidency being Arkansas's governor, he ran a federal lending institution named AGFA. And if you watch the Clinton Chronicles, then you know that part of the way that he got elected president and how he raised so much money through PACs is that he would have donors give money to PACs. Say, I lent you $200,000, right? He would say, give that $200,000 to this PAC, right? I'll lend you $200,000. You give that $200,000 to the PAC, and then I'll forgive your loan when I get elected. And that's exactly what he did. He forgave numerous amounts of loans. Then when he went to the White House, he fired the entire White House staff, generations of people that have worked in the White House, their mothers and fathers before them, and just kind of like that. It was the same people working for every administration all the way up until until Clinton got in office. Clinton came and he fired the whole White House staff and brought only his people with him. And then everyone that was on his whole staff, with the exception of like Richard Clark, so Vince Foster, all these people all ended up either dying somehow or another, or committing some kind of a strange suicide where they shoot themselves in the head twice. It's just like stuff like that.
Mike, how do you shoot you? You can't shoot yourself in the head twice. Yeah.
That's what I mean. Right. So,
but no, it's crazy. Yeah. I got to get this mixed, make these with my No Kings emblem on it. But please, anybody listening, like, share, let's get some more people in here. Also, for obviously most of y'all know Eddie and his channel, but also I'm now on his team. So check out the website, nokingsonthehill.drolaw.com. I'm usually on Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Central, but with Christmas Eve being tomorrow, decided to pop on tonight, get it in early. I just thought I'd get that in there real quick.
Yeah, no, and people know I typically am going to do.
We forgot to do. We did forget to do our. We forgot to do our cue.
Yeah. Yeah, but you're not going to see me as much. Typically I'm doing things behind the scenes. We will be at CPAC this year. So just like last year, I confirmed it today. Matt Schlapp, who is the president of CPAC, will also be on PPN as well in the next few days. We're lining that up, but we've already confirmed our spot. It's going to be fun. It was, I've been to a lot of rallies, a lot of private events, stuff like that. But out of everything that I got to do leading up to the inauguration, and we were also at the inauguration, I think out of all of them, CPAC was the funnest thing to do.
Yep. Right? And this will be my first year to CPAC because luckily it's in Grapevine. So I was planning on going even if I hadn't hooked up with Eddie and the PPN network, but now I can actually be there and do live from there. And
we're going to be streaming and talking to people and grabbing people that are walking by. And last year was great. We got to talk to Tom Homan at one point. We got almost had a conversation with Carrie Lake. They treated her with more security than they did the damn president. But I even got to talk to some presidents. Me and Maurice both got up there with Javier Milei, who's the president of Argentina. Yeah. Right. So
I'm working right now to set up a interview with a congressional candidate for the new Texas District 35. Don't know if he'll win or not, win the primary or not. We'll see. But hopefully if I can get him here now, then when he wins the primary, I can get him at CPAC, because obviously CPAC's right after the primaries. So the only general candidates won't be decided as if anybody has a runoff, because the runoffs are in May. But I think I was looking at the dates, the Texas primary elections are like a week before CPAC. And I think they kind of timed that perfectly. So
last year we got to talk to the guy who's challenging Gavin Newsom right now, and he's actually winning in the polls. A Republican is winning in the polls in California. So that's nuts.
What'll be nice to see is I'm going to do a show over this. I'm deciding is like, I know everybody wants John Cornyn out, but the question is we can't afford to lose any seats in the Senate. And
we barely have a majority there.
And could we maybe get Wesley Hunt or Ken Paxton to beat John Cornyn? Yes. But the question is, can they beat the Democratic challenger? Now, if Jasmine Crockett wins, the weakest Republican candidate can win. But if
Jasmine Crockett's not going to win.
Well, I'm saying if she wins the Democratic nomination, if she gets
she may get the Democratic nomination.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I'm saying if
Sheldon Daniels running against her. I know Sheldon will wipe the floor with her. I would love to see that.
I'm just saying if she gets the Democratic nomination, then it doesn't matter who wins the Republican nomination, because they'll beat her. The weakest Republican candidate could beat her. But if it goes to a more moderate candidate like Trejo or one of them, then we really got to pay attention to. I mean, Wesley Hunt looks like a pretty strong candidate. He's graduated Cornell Law. He's former Army.
How do you feel about Yolanda Jones?
I didn't look at that one. I've just started looking through the list. I got to go through more of them. The big name recognition ones are Wesley Hunt and Ken Paxton. Ken Paxton, he's got too many skeletons in his closet. He had the AG charge and that they were accusing him of corruption or something. I mean, he's just got too much. He's got too many skeletons in his closet. I would be scared of him losing against a couple people on the Democratic Party that are more moderate because they can run that against him. Wesley Hunt, I think, would be smart because he is African American, so he could bring some more of the middle Democrats, that community. He can help draw that vote.
You got my buddy out there already who has the Republican nomination, Theodis Daniel, who I'm managing the campaign for, and he's going to be challenging Yolanda Jones. But he is the nominee.
Well, not yet. You got to get through.
No, he is the nominee.
Oh, he doesn't have he doesn't have a Republican competitor. Okay, nope. So he's not getting challenged on the Republican side. Okay,
nope. He's repping 147.
Well, that's why I want to run in my district, because my district so far, I mean, I don't know if it'll change when Williams retires, but Williams never has a Democratic challenger. It's like he doesn't even run; he's an automatic shoe-in because nobody. It's such a staunch Republican district. Nobody's ever tried to.
Your state finally fixed some things, and people can call it gerrymandering and all that other stuff. But the reality of it is if anyone looked at the district in Texas and looked at how they were shaped and the things that were going on there, an example is District 18 in your state. District 18 was shaped like a horseshoe. So everything inside of that horseshoe was a different district than everything that surrounded it. And in what world does that make sense?
Well, and what's my point is you say, oh, you got to have a primary African-American district. Well, how is that legal? Because it's not all African-Americans that live there. Now you're diluting the white votes that live there. And who says all, and it's also racist because who's to say that all African-Americans vote the same way?
Yeah.
I mean,
or do we vote different leaders in for different demographics? Because then we need a gay leader, African-American leader, Hispanic leader, an Asian American leader. I mean, it's ridiculous. Right?
It gets on to my point, the rant I went on last night for like 40 minutes on my live. I'm not going to do it that long, but pretty much all point is identity politics needs to go away. All it does is divide. It is DEI, identity politics. It is set to divide. We have got to quit worrying. We've got to go back to the biblical standards and go back to merit and judge people by the content of their character, not by their nationality or the color of their skin.
That's not what the Democrats want to do.
No,
I've literally had friends of mine tell me that I need you to see me as a black man. I'm like, hold up, buddy. You want me to see you as your skin color first? That's like me saying, oh, only respect people who wear purple shirts.
Yeah.
Right. And it's ridiculous.
I should respect you because who you are on the inside as a person, your personality, your morals, your obligations, your family values. That's what should make me respect you. It shouldn't matter if you're black, purple, freaking purple alien from planet Mars or Zeta Quadrant or whatever, or a mythical unicorn or something. It doesn't matter. It should matter on who you are. And it's like, of course, the Democrats want us to think that way because divided we fall, united we stand. Mm-hmm. Because while they got us so divided and infighting and all this stuff and so tribal, they're sitting there working on their globalist agenda in the back area with the Bilderberg Group and the Council of Foreign Relations and the UN and all that. And they're like, oh, just fight each other. You hate each other. Y'all have nothing in common. It's the identity, white privilege and all this. And I'm like, white privilege? I mean, like I said earlier, I didn't have no fucking privilege.
I never experienced that either.
And it's
And
it's so bad. I mean, one time I was up in the Northeast driving trucks, and it's so bad up there that this one black guy asked me and goes, well, you're white, so you inherited rent land. You're rich. And I'm like, where's my land? I didn't inherit no fucking land.
You want to see an instance of white privilege? Let me show you an instance of white privilege. Hold up. Not
geniuses, but
hold up. It's not him. Hold on. Give me a second. I got it right here. Here's an instance of what actual true to form white privilege.
What do you think that was?
Almost right there.
What do you think this whole Epstein debacle was? Do you think this was
I don't even fucking know at this point, and I really mean it. It's like I will tell you is that the only thing that is clear to me is this: Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump, during a period of his life, were fucking thick as thieves, and Donald Trump has tried to pass this off as being what Palm Beach was in the 90s. Okay, and that may be his view of it. But I've seen enough evidence of Donald Trump and his teen modeling agencies and what he said on Howard Stern about how he can go, he would go into the back of these, Miss Teen USA pageants and, walk up to the girls naked. They were talking about girls when he's talking about doing that. And wonder whether or not Donald Trump in his mind has come up with this concoction that it was all just what they did in the 90s. It was models. I mean, that's what Michael Wolff says. Michael Wolff says that the justification in Trump's mind is that they were models.
That's ridiculous. That is absolutely ridiculous.
14, 15 years old. I mean,
and I'm going to explain.
We have a president that has been incredibly.
So, first of all, let me say how disappointed I am in Sean Ryan. You had Hunter Biden sitting across from you for over an hour, and you treated him like a toddler. You didn't ask him any really hard questions. You didn't push. I mean, the questions were there, but he didn't push. The remainder of that interview was just like that. It was just like that. He let him skate on every single thing. He let him skate on the laptop. He let him skate by saying that his dad didn't have dementia or he wasn't senile, like there was no proof. For those of us who actually read what was on the laptop, and I have a complete copy of it right here on my computer, he said in a text message to his uncle, James Biden, that his James Biden said, and I quote, "How's your dad's dementia doing?" He said, well, now at least he has the Secret Service with him and they know his address. At least they're good for something. Right. And so he knew his dad had dementia, but not on that show. He didn't. And he let him walk. He let him skate.
I didn't see that whole show, but my other question is
it's terrible.
Is why didn't he ask a question about you're trying to judge Trump and respect to this? What about your naked pictures and your crack-filled binges and
what about him his dad taking showers with Ashley Biden until she was 16? And I interviewed the guy from Project Veritas who actually got the damn diary, which is on National File still to the day. If you want to read Ashley Biden's diary, you can go read that nasty filth that she wrote in her diary. And then the phone call where she calls Project Veritas and admits that it's her diary. She said, those are my private thoughts and I want them back. There was also a camera and some other things that they got back to her. And then the lady who took the stuff from the Bidens and gave it to him ended up doing 6 months in jail behind doing it. So the veracity of those documents, of that diary and all that's not in question. It's not in question. Those are all very, very real. People did jail time behind those, but they just want to act like they're not there. And the mistake I think Trump made today was when he went on TV and tried to say, me and Bill Clinton have always got along. I think Bill Clinton's nice guy and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, why are you trying to equate yourself to Bill Clinton? I mean, that part of it makes no sense to me. Just calling it how I see it. It doesn't make any sense to me.
I don't think he was trying to equate Bill Clinton. I think he was just trying to say, hey,
he said me and Bill Clinton have always got along.
Well, yeah, he says that a lot about a lot of people. I mean,
he says Bill Clinton is a nice guy and all that kind of stuff. Here,
he says that. Yeah, but he says that about Putin. He says that about China. I mean, he says that about a lot of people. It's all a negotiating game or a tactic to try to move or whatever.
Here, let me pull it up so people can see it. See?
The sound's not coming through.
Yeah, this is a good video, but terrible sound quality. Let me see if I can find a better one.
Well, unplug the sound. It's still go down to that arrow. See
There
if
it
it's no. Turn the volume up. It's not coming through. Try to turn the volume up on the little speaker. See if it's turned down. Because we still can't hear it on this end.
You should be able to hear what I'm sharing.
Yeah, for some reason it's not coming through.
Here, let me remove it and reshare the screen then, because you should be able to hear that. That was a loud one too. Yeah, no, it's on there. The sound is on there.
Well, I didn't hear it on my end. Think if I can't hear it, I don't know if anybody else can. I know I can hear you.
Here it is.
See, the X is on there. That's what I was saying. Yeah.
To their
By
full.
what?
And were you surprised by the number of photos of Bill Clinton in the Epstein files? And can you commit to their full release by the end of the year? Some of the victims were protesting that too many of them were redacted.
I know there are a lot of people that are angry about all of the pictures of other people, but I think it's terrible. Look, I don't like I like Bill Clinton. I've always gotten along with Bill Clinton. I've been nice to him. He's been nice to me. We've always gotten along, respect him. I hate to see photos come out of him, but this is what the Democrats, mostly Democrats, and a couple of bad Republicans are asking for. So they're giving their photos of me too. Everybody was friendly with this guy, either friendly or not friendly, but he was around. He was all over Palm Beach and other places. The head of Harvard was his best friend, Larry Summers. And Bill Clinton was a friend of his, but everybody was. I actually threw him out of Mar-a-Lago. And as a person that was in Mar-a-Lago, I threw him out. Mar-a-Lago, this is Mar-a-Lago. It's the hottest place I think it's the hottest place in the world, but it's the hottest place in Florida. And everybody would come here. He'd come here. We actually threw him out. But no, I don't like the pictures of Bill Clinton being shown. I don't like the pictures of other people being shown. I think it's a terrible thing. I think Bill Clinton's a big boy. He can handle it. But you probably have pictures being exposed of other people that innocently met Jeffrey Epstein many years ago. And they're, highly respected bankers and lawyers and others. And they'll end up, because of guys like Massey, who's a real lowlife, whose polls are down to about 9%, by the way.
I disagree.
The great state of Kentucky. If you look at Kentucky, Kentucky is such a great place, but I don't know. They've got a couple of people in there that are very strange in terms of leadership. But Massey's a loser, and he likes it, and that he works with the Democrats. He's just
No, he doesn't.
Well,
I'm going to completely disagree with Trump on that one. Massey is a guy who votes his conscience and will not change the way he votes. He sticks to his guns. He's a fiscal conservative. He's probably one of the only actual fiscal conservatives in Congress. And yeah, I mean,
outside of the Massey one, I think the aspect he's taken there is okay. The reason he hates to see the pictures is because obviously you can't prove it. If there's anything criminally, there's not enough evidence to prove it. And by releasing all these pictures, you're destroying people's credibility. They're public in the court of public opinion. It's hurting them. And I think that's kind of what
that's a true statement. That is a true statement. However, as it relates to Bill Clinton, I just showed you a picture of him getting a naked massage in a hotel room.
Oh, I know, but that one wasn't a young girl. That was over age.
But it still goes to show you the character of the person that we're dealing with. And for Trump to get up there and defend him like that doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, if the girl's 25 and not 18, then
he's a married man and an ex-president.
Oh yeah, I know.
It's still his morality is in question.
Okay, I understand that, but I'm just saying I think that's. But he's talking about like all the other people too. Like I said, the bankers and just people that were coincidentally in, because everybody goes like, "Oh, Jeffrey Epstein." They're just thinking he's this. That's all he is.
That's why I said it is a true statement. I just wouldn't take that so far as to say Bill Clinton is a nice guy. Ask the parents of the 10-year-old who lost his life in Arkansas for seeing too much when cocaine was being dropped out of bales by low-flying planes. And then Bill Clinton lets Roger Clinton take the damn fall for it and then pardons him when he's in the presidency.
Yeah, no, but I think that's kind of where President Trump was kind of getting the point of, because he was also trying to say, look, yeah, my pictures are releasing, but like this guy was everywhere. He was all over Palm Beach. He was all over he was a big financier. He was in Wall Street. He was on all the banks. So just because there's pictures of me with him, or I flew on his plane a couple times for business for real estate deals or something, doesn't mean I was involved in anything else. And I think maybe he went a little too far with it, but I think that's kind of the aspect of how he was looking at it per se.
Right. No, and like I said, I can agree with the statement as a general statement. I just can't agree that that applies to Bill Clinton.
And I think it's also a play to try to maybe hope to settle down some of the stuff on the left because he's not going after Bill Clinton and attacking him straight out. And watch it. But I'm just saying, if it doesn't work, watch it flip a 180. He does that stuff. He'll come out, he'll play Mr. Nice Guy at first, and if it doesn't work, negotiating wise or tactic wise in the speech, he'll just flip 180 and start calling you the devil. I mean,
oh yeah, just like he just did with Massey at the end of that speech.
Massey must have done something to piss him off, and
well, Massey didn't vote for the big bill, and he didn't vote for it. Massey won't vote for an increase. Massey won't vote to increase the deficit, no matter what. Period. No matter what.
Okay, now
he's never done it.
Okay, now if we're going to get on to a little bit of election things, I want to talk for anybody here. Okay, do not be mad at Congress. All right, Congress isn't the one who hasn't done anything. It's the Senate. If you can find this on TikTok. I mean, on X. Yesterday, the last day before they left, or last week before they left, the Speaker of the House put up what the Senate, the Congress has done. The Congress has passed over 405, almost 500 bills. Now, only 54 of those have actually been passed by the Senate and made it into law. But the thing is Congress can't force the Senate to pass the codifying bills. They can't force the Senate to get those through. They've also now moved all of the final 9 appropriations bills out of committee. So it looks like as soon as they get back on January 5th, they will start voting on the 9 remaining appropriations bills, but then it will still come down to the Senate to vote on them. So if we're going to get mad at anybody or look at anybody to replace, it's the Senate that's the issue, because they also codified, I think, 19 or 20 some odd President Trump's executive orders, including Congress has passed the SAVE Act, but it's sitting in the Senate's desk, hasn't gone to Senate committee. Senate's done nothing with them. It's John Thune that we need to get rid of.
It took them almost a year to start codifying some of the Doge cuts, which were necessary to do almost immediately. And I'm just afraid that the second half of his presidency is going to end up being a lame duck presidency, and he's not going to be able to get these things done. And they're arguing over whether or not he should be able to send the National Guard into Chicago. What are we talking about? This is ridiculous. I mean, you have people in Chicago with automatic weapons putting TikToks out, challenging the president. Come here. This ain't like anywhere else. We're ready for you. Like, your little guns ain't nothing compared to what the National Guard or the Marine Corps or anyone else that he wants to send there will do it. And the only way to do that, you ever live in a house like back east, we have the houses, they're like row homes. And if you fog your house for bugs or pests, all they do is run to your neighbors. So if they go into Chicago, all that's going to happen is an exodus, and they'll just go to the neighboring state for a while and then come back. You need to release the National Guard in all 50 states, recruit people for the Border Patrol in every state, and let people do exactly what you pay them for. Get rid of the illegal immigrants out of this country. But you have to do it all at once. It has to be one big sweep. Do it. Get it over with. Screw what they think about you. They're not going to like you anyway.
Yeah. So I pulled it up now. Okay. So legislative output, I'm going to have to look to the side because my screen is 441 bills passed by the House, 70 executive orders codified through legislation, 23 Congressional Review Act resolutions adopted with 16 signed into law, $9 billion rescinded through the Rescissions Act of 2025, economic policy and tariff relief. We all know about the working families tax cut, the no tax on overtime tips, tax relief for seniors, made a historic $60 billion investment in Americans' agriculture economy, border enforcement. We know about all the increased border enforcement. And then energy permitting and infrastructure, unlocking our domestic LNG potential act, permit act, state planning for reliability and affordability act, electric supply chain act, improving intricacy coordination for pipeline reviews act, power plant reliability act, Mining Regulatory Clarity Act, SPEED Act, Reliable Power Act, Invest Act. And the national defense, obviously, they passed the 2026 National Defense Bill to increase the modernization and military readiness, which we saw the announcement of the 36 Trump-class battleships coming out. It looks similar to the Arleigh Burke class, with just some Arleigh Burke class destroyers with some changes to it. Fixing the Democrats' broken healthcare system, putting the GOP healthcare plan for the
well, he didn't fix it. He just put a parallel program in place.
Well, and I think that was the smartest thing they did, because last time they tried to put the same program in and remove the ACA and nobody would approve it. But now that you're leaving the ACA and putting that beside it, which gives people the chance to compare and contrast which one's the best. And obviously, I would think the Democrats would want that. If they're so gung-ho on their program and it's so good, then nobody would use the GOP. And then
the reason why they did that, if you remember when the guy testified, the architect of the ACA testified in front of Congress, he said that we want the program to fail and we want to bankrupt the healthcare system so that the government can take it over.
Yep. And
there's
then
the whole plan behind it.
Appropriations in regular order advanced all 12 FY26 appropriations bills out of committee. For the first time since 2019, the House took formal action to move regular appropriations bills to conference, reduced discretionary spending year over year, enacted 3 full year FY26 appropriation bills signed by President Trump. Those were the 3 that came in with the last thing. Public Safety and Election Integrity, Lincoln Riley Act, Halt Fentanyl Act, Take It Down Act, Protection of Women and Girls in Sports Act, which is nice, the SAVE Act and Support Act. And this doesn't even include the last one that they passed that was to stop children from being able to get transgender transition surgeries, which I'm like, okay, and all these every Democrat vote against it. I'm like, so you're telling me a 12-year-old can't get a tattoo, they can't smoke, they can't drink, they can't buy a firearm or a weapon, they can't do anything to change their body, but yet you're going to let them cut off their private parts and stop their body from hitting puberty, life-changing alterations? Somehow they have the cognitive.
Well, the lie is that they're reversible. They lie and tell them they're reversible.
No, they're not.
But if you take them through your teens and your prepubescent years prior to hitting puberty until you're an adult and you stop taking them, then you've missed your chance at puberty. It's the end of it. It only happens one time in a life cycle. So the idea that you can just take estrogen or testosterone or whatever and induce the same puberty your body would have naturally went through is a fallacy. When Matt Gaetz made that movie, What is a Woman, there were many of these people that did just that came out and testified their life expectancy on the movie. This is what they said. They said their life expectancy was shortened. They were robbed of their life. They were lied to by the doctors that they went and seen. There was a lot of that kind of talk.
Well, and it's common sense. I mean, okay, so men who lack testosterone are at higher risk for overweight or weight gain, higher risk for heart attacks, higher risk for others for dementia. Women who lack estrogen are at high risk for osteoporosis, bone degeneration, and other types of stuff. And it's like, you're telling me if somehow you stop this before puberty, it changes that? No, because you're not changing the genetics. And we don't know the true effects. And while they say, yes, they can, if they take a man and create him a vagina and take it back, that they supposedly can reverse it, but there's no guarantee that they'll have any filling or that it will even function right.
No, and the doctors who perform these things know that. They're just, let's do it and see what happens mode. I mean, this is right out of like World War II, Joseph Mengele style eugenics that was going on there. This is no different.
Yeah, it's
their style liberalism is just like, let's just get rid of all standards and all values and all ethics, throw those all in the trash, and call it freedom.
I'm not saying that we should force, we don't force schizophrenics to take pills for their medication to treat their schizophrenia.
If I walk into a doctor's office and I say, Doc, I'm hearing voices, the last thing I want that doctor to say is like, oh no, you are hearing voices. They're real. Tell them I said what's up. Like, no, they're gonna give me help.
But what I'm saying is you can get the help or not get the help. What I'm saying is we need to concentrate more on that with transgenderism. And because I'll tell you this, find me somebody who is truly transgender who will tell you they want to be transgender. And
not one person.
And I've talked to multiple transgender people, and they go, I don't want to be this, but this is who I am. So we need to figure out, why are these people being born this way? Is there a chromosomal mutation? Is there an extra Y or an extra X chromosome? Is there
Have you ever heard of atrazine?
Is there some type of chemical imbalance? I mean, what? Because we could possibly create a drug that could either reverse it or maintain it, and then obviously we shouldn't force those people to do it, but it should be up to them whether they want to. And from the people I've talked to, if they said actually on Southern Mama's live the other day, there's a transgender girl in there. I can't remember her handle name. Guy that turns girl, but transgender person in there. And they said, if you told me you had a pill that could make me want to be a man, I'd take it.
Here, listen to what RFK Jr. said.
Kids are being overwhelmed by a tsunami. I mean, they're swimming through a soup of toxic chemicals today, and many of those are endocrine disruptors. There's atrazine throughout our water supply. Atrazine, by the way, if you in a lab put atrazine in a tank full of frogs, it will chemically castrate and forcibly feminize every frog in there, and 10% of the frogs, the male frogs, will turn into fully viable females able to produce viable eggs.
So when he first put that out, right, he said that on, I forget, it was a Daily Wire show he said that on. And when he first put that out, they removed it. They removed the video. They took it down as if what he was saying was misinformation. But what he was quoting was an NIH study where they actually took atrazine and put it in and exposed frogs to it. And the frogs, not only did they become female, but they became viable females that actually were able to reproduce. And in this atrazine chemical that he's talking about, it's in our groundwater. It's in chemicals that wash into our water reclamation and everything else. And then we're exposed to this stuff. Now you may say, I don't drink the water. Do you take a shower? Because if you're not filtering your entire house and you're just saying, well, I drink bottled water, I drink Fiji water, right? It doesn't matter. You're going to go take a bath or a shower, aren't you?
Yep.
So if you're doing that, the largest organ on your entire body is your skin, it's your epidermal, right? So now you're soaking that stuff up, and you think that you're immune to what everybody else is doing. You might as well be drinking out of the garden hose.
Oh yeah, I agree. And it's like, come on, people, it's get a grip. We've got to figure, because what happened was while I had no problem with them legalizing gay marriage, honestly, I think the government should be out of marriage. Okay, I think it should be.
I think that when it comes to marriage, that it shouldn't be called marriage. I don't think that they should put a ban on who can be with who.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Civil unions were fine. You had all the same rights as married people did. You got to be on the insurance. You got to leave your estate. You got all of the same rights, right? But here's the problem that I have with the same-sex marriage, right? The marriage part. And then people say, why are the divorce rates so high in our country? And I have a theory. My theory is that when you counterfeit something, the real thing becomes worth a lot less.
Yeah.
So when you start counterfeiting marriage and you start reducing relationships to what they show on TV, Married at First Sight, Temptation Island. Would you take your wife to an island where you both dated other people to be tempted?
No, but
on TV, it's ridiculous.
I don't agree with gay marriage. I'm just saying, I think they should be able to do whatever they want, it not judge.
I just don't think it should be called marriage.
Well, yeah, call it whatever they want, but I think the government should be out of it totally. But when they legalized gay marriage, I said they're opening Pandora's box. And and my co-host is actually he's bi, but he's part of the LGBTQ movement. And he said what happened was all the NGOs and nonprofits that were fighting for the gay marriage rights. All right. So when they won gay marriage, they didn't want to shut their NGOs down. They didn't want to lose all that money. So what they do? They went to transgenderism. They went after the transgender movement. And if you look, a year after they legalized gay marriage, the American Psychological Association changed the definition of gender disorder to gender dysphoria, which then reclassified it not as a mental disorder, but as a place, a feeling, or a being, which means it stopped all research into it. It made it to where doctors could no longer research the disorder because it was no longer considered a disorder.
It was gender dysphoria that was the disorder. When they got rid of the disorder, they went to the gender dysphoria.
Yeah.
And we stopped doing that in the late 80s, early 90s.
Well, no, it's 2013 is when they switched it, because I did a whole
when they stopped calling it gender dysphoria and diagnosing people with it. Yes.
Well, yeah, I did a whole report on this and wrote a paper on it for a constitutional part of it, because for my doctoral, the 1969, 1972 is right around the first instance you ever heard of a legitimate person or French person in the psychological area stating biological sex and gender as two separate things instead of the same thing, or meaning the same thing. But it really didn't become mainstream till we saw that they changed gender disorder to gender dysphoria, which then reclassified it as a dysphoria, which is a feeling or a place of feeling and a feeling of how you are, not an actual disorder or mental disability, which means
like they normally do. And then they go start changing definitions of words.
Yep. And so that stopped all research into what was causing this. And if they had not done that and they'd allowed it, now you're talking about with gays, that changed in the 80s with being gay as a disorder or a mental disease to just being accepted. That was back in the 80s or 90s. Transgenderism didn't happen until 2012 when they legalized gay marriage. And it's like, why should we stop researching? Because these people, they don't decide to be this way. This isn't somebody who just picks to be that way. Even I have gay people in my family, and I ask them, when did you know you were gay? And they're like, I'm like, honestly, when did you know you were gay? I had feelings around 4, 5, 6. Like, as soon as they were old enough to really know who they were, they knew that something was different. They knew that they were attracted to the same sex, not the opposite. Mm-hmm. It goes to, again, what is causing that? It's not being bigoted. It's not being racist, but something's causing this. Because I drove Lyft and Uber for a long time when I was going for my degree. And I used to go work in the neighborhood because all of the, especially years ago when I was doing taxis, that's what they call it over in Oakland. They call it the neighborhood. And because the Middle Eastern people would refuse to go there, they refused to pick them up. They wouldn't deal with them. And so I got to know a couple of them really well that I picked up all the time. And I'd ask them, did born you that way? And I was like, were you born or did you choose? And they're like, do you think I would choose to be a way that I'm ridiculed, that is considered wrong by God, or is considered a mortal sin, or that would disappoint my parents and be opposite of everybody else and be different? And I'm like, no. And they go, well, there's your answer. Pretty much tell me they're not choosing. They're like, I can't help it. It's who I am. I've tried. They're like, I tried to do the other way.
I hate to reduce it to this, but don't you think most addicts feel that way about whatever their vice is?
Oh, yeah.
But they still get treated like addicts, and they still know it's bad to do, and they go through treatment to get them off of whatever that is.
Yeah, but there's no treatments, or they've stopped looking into treatments for it, is what I'm saying. They've stopped looking for any type of medicinal.
They see it as barbarism. They see it as barbarism, re-education camps. But we can put together a hadron collider and look for the God particle, the thing that made the universe, and look for these things, but we can't do some kind of a research to find out why society is upside down and sideways. It makes no sense to me.
I mean, don't get me wrong. There's been gay and transgenders all throughout the ages, just like there's been autistic children all throughout the ages. But
not to disagree. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Now, obviously, some of it has to do with it's more accepted now, so more people are coming out of the closet, more people feel, but still not to this degree. You can't, for the massive amount, how much the population has grown in all three of those areas. It can't be all accounted to the societal changes. There's got to be a good percentage of it accounted to environmental issues.
I would have to say it's environmental. I do. I believe completely and wholeheartedly. You have a segment of the population that is caught up in the trend. Maybe they weren't accepted or ostracized in school, sat at the lunch table alone, and the only people that accepted them was this crowd. And next thing you know, they're gay. It's sort of like the parents who have 4 children, but all 4 of their children are less than 6 and they're all transgender. How do you know? Right? It's you get that, you got that too. You got the parents, like the kid.
How can you do it those 6? Okay, my son told me yesterday he was a dinosaur.
Yeah, and my grandson was Spider-Man until he was 5. I get it.
I mean, one day he's a spider. One day he's Sonic. One day he's a dinosaur. One day he's a dog. One day he's imagination. It's his imagination. He's playing. He's learning. He's 3.5, almost 4. He doesn't know what. He's just got imagination. He's exploring, trying to learn. It's ridiculous. It's child abuse.
I got a stat from Jordan Peterson, Dr. Jordan Peterson, psychology professor. Obviously, everyone knows who Jordan Peterson is. And he said, and I'd have to believe his stat. I don't think he'd lie. I really don't. I trust this guy. And he said that a 70+%, or it may have been higher actually, left to their own devices, not given puberty blockers or whatever, that identify as trans when they're prepubescent. If you leave them alone, that a very high percentage of them don't remain that way past their teen years. The problem is they're getting them when they're kids now, and they're telling them these things are real and you are a girl and you're absolutely okay to be a girl. And they get locked in to this identity. I mean, we interviewed
they're telling them you can be a girl, you can be a boy, you can be whoever you want. Really, you can be a freaking purple unicorn or a fuzzy bunny or what? 36 some odd different genders.
Now we got furries. But this is what the Democrat Party used to sound like back in the day. I mean, not even that long ago.
Define marriage.
I believe that marriage is the union between a man and a woman. Now, for me as a Christian,
I mean, that's what they used to sound like.
But that was a lie, because he is the one that legalized gay marriage.
Of course it was a lie. He was telling people what they wanted to hear. He married a dude.
Big Mike. At least we can argue that one on here. If you said that on TikTok, we would be like down in a second.
Yeah. What you talked about all those other federal statutes that were passed. Let me get your opinion on the fact that screw Meta, for real. Facebook and Instagram, both of them, screw them both. Told us that we can no longer on their platforms say anything that's considered anti-Zionist. And they're equating anti-Zionism with anti-Semitism.
Well, I mean, I understand it, but I disagree with it, because free speech is free speech, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, but anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism are not the same thing. Anti-Semitism is hating someone for who they are, what they are. If you're Jewish or whatever, that's just racism, right? Screw the extra name, anti-Zionist, Semitic, whatever. It's racism. But to say that I disagree with the goings on of the Israeli government does not, and will not ever equate to racism. I'm talking about a secular government.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with that. I under the anti-Semitism part, but still I don't agree with it, because if you want to go to the true First Amendment, and even Charlie Kirk believed this, and that's why I put out those videos this weekend about what was going on with the attacks and everything at America Fest. And I was like, this has got to stop. Charlie Kirk, he was the glue. We're seeing he was the glue that hold everybody together. It could bring different people together. As like, we've got to remember that Charlie believed that freedom of speech meant even listen to people that you don't agree with. That as long as they have something that could maybe be valuable to say, even if you don't agree with everything they say, that's freedom of speach.
No other way to expose a lie but to put it in front of the truth. Say your lie, I'll say my truth, just like Charlie used to say. Say your lie, I'll say my truth, and let's see which one of us are standing at the end. But Charlie, prior to his assassination, spoke out very loudly about the genocide in Gaza, about the ethnic cleansing in Gaza, about the stand down on October the 7th, which actually occurred. The IDF soldier testified that the order that came over the radio waves was recorded and played back. He went on the PD whatever podcast, and he talked about it. And he says they're ethnically cleansing 2.5 million people. People want to act like they didn't say that or he didn't believe that. He absolutely believed that. And not only that, for Ben Shapiro to get on that stage and shout all that stuff about Tucker Carlson, talking about deplatforming people, they're spitting in Charlie Kirk's face by doing that.
I mean, I could understand saying, hey, Tucker Carlson should have said, I do not agree with anything he's saying. I do not agree with his views, but he has the right to speak his views. That I could understand.
I disagree with him saying that Islam is equates to Christianity and everyone has a right, because I believe Islam is a political movement. I believe it's a disease that infects every country that it touches.
Yeah. But I don't agree. I don't agree with his part that he said that he should deplatform because he because he interviewed Nick Fuentes and didn't go at him. My thing would have been he should have said, all right, I do not agree with any of the statements that he has made that have anything to do with racism or anti-white or anti any other nation, but he has a right to speak his piece. That is what Charlie
I bet
would
you
have
there
wanted.
are many more things that they agree on than that they disagree on.
Yeah,
But
it's like
when
just
Charlie,
because somebody's a racist bigot doesn't mean you can't agree on other political views. Just because you don't agree.
I don't think that Tucker said anything that was racist or bigoted.
I'm talking about Nick Fuentes.
Nick Fuentes.
Did you hear what he called JD Vance's wife?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I don't agree with everything he says, but to have those couple of statements be your defining factor of who you are, I had to go back and because I met Nick Fuentes in Detroit. Me and Maurice went down there for a Turning Point event a year and a half ago or more. Charlie actually flew us down and put us up in a hotel and paid our airfare and everything. And Nick Fuentes showed up to the convention center. It was at the People's Convention. That's that one you see us in the intro walking through. And I confronted Nick Fuentes and his followers. Like, what do you guys believe? And they started telling me their spiel about anti-Zionism, blah, blah, blah. And at the time, I was like any other evangelical who just, that's anti-Semitic. You're full of it. You're a bunch of anti-Semites. Bye. That was essentially the way I dealt with that. Now I have to walk back my statements and go and actually listen to and really weigh out the veracity of the statements that he has made as a totality or the body of his work and actually hear what he said and say, I don't agree with these things that he said, but in the totality of the things that he said, I am absolutely 100% in agreement with about 90% of what he says. He's not wrong. He's just, you know what it is? It's his damn delivery. It's the way he says it that I think rubs people the wrong way. But actually listen to his statements. Listen to the argument that he puts forth on why he feels the way he feels about certain issues, just like he did on Tucker. And you will hear his actual defense, the history behind it, the statistics behind it. He's not wrong. It's just something that is so new for people to hear that white people can have pride in heritage and culture and actually want to defend themselves and say, I'm proud to be white. And that white people built the biggest, best countries in history, the most innovative countries in history, electricity. Thank you. You know, cars. Thank you. Going to the moon, or if we did even go to the moon.
Yeah.
But thank you. I mean, this is all things that we can say that we did.
Yeah, I don't think
as a race, any other race would say it, but if we say it, it's wrong.
I don't think you should. I think as white people, you should be able to be proud to be white and be proud of your thing. Obviously, you don't, not the type of white power that says, oh, everybody else is inferior.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I know, but I agree with. And it's like, but it's the problem is that's the way the country's made us people think and stuff. And the problem is every time they bring up racism, I'm like, okay, Saudi Arabia just outlawed racism like 20 years ago, and technically they still have a underground slave trade in Saudi Arabia.
They were the biggest partakers of the slave trade, even when the United States was involved with it.
Well, actually,
historically, they were the biggest ones.
When we were involved in the slave trade, 90% of the slaves that came to the Americas went to South America, not to North America. We took like 480,000 South America took millions. We're just the only ones that treated them well enough that they lived enough to actually become a community. Because in the South America, when they were claiming the Amazons, they were dying so fast that none of them were left there to live because it was such a deadly job and they were treated
Saudi
so bad.
Arabia, they castrated them.
Yep.
That's why they don't have a population up there.
And a lot of people don't understand that. It's like, and that's what I always say is when they try to look at back history and blame everything, I'm like, one, you got to look at history and the aspect of what was considered okay in their society. Doesn't mean you have to agree with it now or it's not okay now, but just because you were a slave owner in the 1700s, 1600s, 1800s didn't make you a bad person.
What I'm getting at, though, is being diametrically opposed to a whole other individual based on a particular statement they made is the ridiculous part. Because I can talk to someone I disagree with, and we can have points where we disagree.
It's got us on the wrong side again.
and 90, yeah, it's fine. You don't want to be me, trust me. Yeah, I have way too much responsibility. I can say, you know, I disagree with you on this, that, and the other thing, and then there are 90 other things that we absolutely agree on. In today's culture, political culture, if you say one statement that I disagree with you on, then all of a sudden I hate you. I support Trump, but I also support Massey. And I disagree with the statements that he made. I disagree with him throwing Marjorie Taylor Greene under the bus over the Epstein Files. I disagree with all of that. I disagree with a lot of what's written in the big bill, the big, beautiful bill, right? I disagree with adding $5 trillion to the deficit. I disagree with giving Palantir so much power. I disagree with a lot of these things.
Yeah, but the problem is you got 400 and so you had to get 200 and some odd votes out of 400 and something, and you got to get 51 out of 100. So sometimes you have to put stuff in there to make certain people happy that maybe necessarily you got to get a little at a time.
You and I both know under Kevin McCarthy, promises were made that there were going to be single line item voting. There's up and down on single line items, and they were getting rid of the omnibus. And as a result, Matt Gaetz and 7 other people were the only ones with enough balls to vote Kevin McCarthy out and hold him accountable. When Mike Johnson went into that position of speaker, he was supposed to go there because he was going to agree to move forward with the promises that Kevin McCarthy made. And to this date, he still hasn't. And now they act, not all of them act like, oh, we don't even remember that. They don't even want us to bring that up.
Well, the only problem,
Matt Gaetz is out.
But just think of this. While I understand the idea of a single line item voting, do you know how long it would take to get shit done?
I don't give a damn how long it would take. Do you know how much money we would save? Vivek Ramaswamy had the best idea for a budget than any other presidential contender. And he said this. He said, you start at 0 at the fiscal year, 0. Now, prove to me what you need and why you need it, and then we will release that budget. Right now, the way we do it is if I give you $100 million, it's a use it or lose it budget. If you only spend 90, the next year I'm cutting your budget by 10 million. That's the way it is. So what does each and every state do?
Spend $100
million. Spend $100 million every damn time. That's why you got road work going on. Like I live in Nevada. They're fixing roads that ain't broke. Like there's nothing wrong with this street. My street has been repaved twice since I lived here. Utilities have been fixed that aren't broken. It's just keep these guys busy, spend our budget, do these things. And it's forever projects that never, ever, ever end because we have this money. And if we don't spend it, they'll take it from us. But just talking about Matt Gaetz, look, they chased this guy out of office, right? They chased him out of office because here, I'm going to share something with you real quick.
I agree. That part I agree with. We should fix it to where the budget is based on what you need each year, not if the next year you need more, the next year you need more.
Get an indefinite budget, spending based on what you spent last year. You may not need that this year. Here's what I put out on TikTok. And I had to be very careful about how I said what I said because there's a bigger story behind it, but I think you'll get the picture. Listen. What particular clips I was going to show you to highlight the remainder of the story I've been giving you about Osama bin Laden in Iran, the one that I put out in the other clips. And I left you at part 3. And I told you I was going to put more. Well, believe me, I'm not going to disappoint. What you're getting ready to see is an interview that I held with Nate Kane, who is the Uranium One whistleblower, and Nick No, who is the Benghazi whistleblower, who's actually on the phone with us. And you'll hear the entire interview. And what they're talking about in that interview is the information that I talked about in the previous video about Osama bin Laden being in Iran. And they knew this through Alan Perot, who wanted to try to collect the reward money on Osama bin Laden, which was the reason he contacted the administration. Fast forward, Alan Perot gets all this information into Nick No's hands. You will see Nick No and Nate King together hand that information off to Matt Gaetz. Then what I'm going to show you is what led up to all of that, which was right before Nate King became a whistleblower and at the Uranium One deal. And last but not least, to prove the point that we're saying in the first video that I'm about to show you, you will hear Matt Gaetz himself talk about this situation on Tucker Carlson, but he doesn't use Osama's name. He just says a spy in Iran, that they wanted him to get out of Iran, and they tried to blackmail him in order to do that, which is the $25 million that he references in that interview. And the guy that's being held in Iran is none other than the guy that we talk about in the first video. You know, that bearded guy in Afghanistan? That one. You don't want to miss this.
It's October, so it was right before the election. We were at this event, Nick and I, and Nick, came to me and said, "Hey, I've got this information. I need to get it in the hands of somebody in Congress." And so I reached out to a friend of mine at the event who I knew had a backdoor channel to Gaetz. So we hopped in a car. We made arrangements. We went over to, I don't know if it was in Miami. It was at an airport somewhere down there where they were having a Trump rally. And Trump wasn't there, but his son, Don Jr. was there. And there were several others, Rubio and others. And Matt Gaetz was there. And so we met back behind, basically in back in the air hangar. I got a picture. I'm going to bring it up right here. So this here is a picture of Nick here on the right in the red hat. I'm on the left in the white hat. And Nick is handing Matt Gaetz the thumb drive with everything we're discussing right now.
Blow that up, Nate, if you wouldn't mind.
And so the words that came out of Matt's mouth, because he had already been, kind of briefed on what was on this thumb drive, was, "This is some scary shit." And so, he understood the gravity of it. And, incidentally, we did all this as covertly as we could, because we understood what was on here is very damaging to people within both parties. It certainly is worth assassinating somebody's character. And it was right after this.
I had to cut that
the
a little
FBI
bit
came after Matt Gaetz.
And now what I want you to do is keep listening, because now Matt Gaetz is going to put a bow on this entire story and talk about the blackmail that they tried to use against him and his father, and that spy that they wanted him to get out of Iran. And remember, I already told you who the spy was.
It was an opt to silence me, and Israel was involved. And I hate to say that, I was shocked to learn it, but there was a consulate official. And
I don't even know what the charge was, but that was the headline. It's like, oh my gosh, can't talk to Matt Gaetz anymore.
Well, for us, the shocking moment was when my father, who's a prominent person in our community, got outreach from someone he had never met that said that there were pictures and images of me, and my dad needed to meet with these people right away. And so my dad, somewhat surprised and concerned, goes and talks to these people and says, "What in the world are you talking about?" And they said, "Well, Mr. Gaetz, we need $25 million from you to go and rescue a spy that is being held in Iran."
He said twice, he said, "I cannot ask permission from Leon Panetta to work with you to get bin Laden out of Iran.
And if you do that, we can make these things about your son go away," which was crazy and wild. We did what any reasonable people would do. We went to the FBI and said that we were being extorted by these folks with their false claims. And we later learned that this consulate official working for the Israeli government was sending text messages to Scott Adams, of all people, the Dilbert cartoonist, saying they were expecting my father to furnish this $25 million payment, and that would be evidence of my consciousness.
Any questions now as to what I was telling you? Wrestled with.
Did you get the underlying message?
Yeah.
So right there, what you guys just witnessed was Matt Gaetz was real slick with how he said it. He said spy. He didn't name the spy. It was Osama bin Laden. It was Osama bin Laden, and he was being held in Iran. He was on house arrest in Iran. Edinger called Alan Perot, the guy in the photo, the video, when I was playing you the audio of the phone call, because Alan Perot was trying to collect on the $50 million reward money. So they told Matt Gaetz, we want $25 million or we're going to release these damaging photos of you. They were going to use that to go get bin Laden, and they were going to be able to pay a portion of those proceeds and still be able to keep $50 million for themselves. And they were this is what they did. This is the whole reason that the blackmail occurred. And we had the guys on the show who were there, boots on the ground, intelligence people that gave me all the emails, all the documentation. Alan Perot got busted by the FBI when he made it to the United States. They took his computers, his cell phones, his everything. They released him a short time later and had kept, until this day, still have his electronic devices.
Oh, yeah.
And that was something that Nate Kane, you'll meet Nate eventually. I'll have Nate on. But Nate Kane and Nick No were spearheading that whole thing. And a lot of people to this day don't know the backstory about the whole situation with Matt Gaetz and why he was set up. And Matt Gaetz was a player, man. Matt Gaetz, what was his quote? He says, "This is politics. We don't pitch underhand." Right. Yeah. And he went at Kevin McCarthy very, very, very hard. And how hard is it today to see a person take a position against their own political party? How often do we see it?
Oh, yeah. No, I guess you're, what's your name? She's going to have fun editing this one at 2 hours. Like a swing run at 2 hour slot.
It'd be all right. It'd be all right. But yeah, man, this is the level of things. Like if I could only put out like half of the rest of the stuff that I have, it'd be amazing. One day I have to get permission from some of the people that, we usually have a podcast, but beforehand we'd talk. And after the show, we would talk, and I'd have those conversations recorded, but I would never release them or put them on our locals or anything like that unless I got permission from them to do it. And one day I had on 2 FBI whistleblowers, both of them, neither of them met each other, and they were swapping war stories. And the whole thing was being recorded. They knew it was being recorded, but they wanted to make sure we weren't broadcasting. I assured them that we weren't broadcasting. So they went on and they just had this wild talk.
Well, and you got to be careful because sometimes that stuff you can get just in as much trouble if you were let it out as they can.
Listen, I'll tell you the same thing I tell everybody else that tells me, aren't you afraid to talk about the things you talk about? No. And that's what our government's missing today. We're missing heroes, right? We get soldiers that go overseas and they know they have no guarantee of coming back whole. They're heroes. Well, where's that heroic mentality in politics that says, I don't want to be liked. I don't care. I'm going to do what's right no matter what.
Yeah, I've got some shit I still won't talk about because I'm foreign military. I had top secret clearance. So when I would run into people and stuff because they know I had the clearance and I know what to say, what not to say, they know they could trust me. They would tell me I talked to some SEALs and yeah.
Oh, believe me, I've had the conversations. I've talked to quite a few people about a lot of things. And if they ask me not to, if it involves them, I won't. I will never let those things, the cat out of the bag. But that's just who I am. But if it's if it's just a matter of people saying, hey, are you not going to release that because you're scared? No. If I couldn't be given top secret clearance. I tell you that I couldn't, because the moment that I seen somebody break a law or do something they shouldn't be doing, I'm telling you right straight up, I'm coming to people with it. I'm telling. I'm just telling you straight up. I'm telling. Don't do it. I'm the wrong person. You know, if you think that you're gonna lord an NDA over me or whatever, you're crazy. Because I'll take the stripes. Give them to me because I'm gonna tell.
Well, the problem is you better tell it, and you better tell it wide, because sometimes the government, well, you don't tell it wide fast enough, will make you disappear, and that's not a stretch. That's not a figment. They are good at doing it.
Yep. And we have criteria, we have laws in place that will protect them when they do it.
Yeah, but the problem is you got to take those steps to get to it, because they're very good. Like AJ's test. I was talking about this yesterday about somebody earlier with the psyops and thing. I was like, there's a test you can find to tell out if the news is actually telling you a true story or a fake story.
It actually started on Sean Ryan's podcast, where they had the guy on there that used to train people to do and run the psyops. And then AJ and him kind of themed all of their shows during that period of time about psyops and about how they actually ran them. It's what I tell people all the time. If you believe the news, if you're tuned into the mainstream media, you're just not getting the news. Right. Nope. I didn't know when Trump used to still does say, oh, the fake media, the fake news. You know, everyone thought it was funny, right? Everyone thought it was cool to see somebody finally fight back against the media and that sort of thing. But we didn't understand how true it was.
He's saying what he can say with that. He's saying what he can say without telling top secret stuff and admitting that the CIA still has journalists and editors and high editorial positions.
Mockingbird never ended.
It never ended. It, like I said, this is what I said on TikTok. So it wouldn't be, because I said there's a program. I said this is fact that the government used to have a program where they had CIA agents in the news. I said that is fact. That's not misinformation. It is well-known knowledge.
Where did Anderson Cooper work before he worked at CNN?
CIA.
Exactly.
And then I go, but here, this is how I worded it for TikTok. I said, now, what happens? Does the government ever shut a program or an agency down?
Change the name of it?
No, they just rename it.
Yeah, they changed MKUltra to NKOTH. And then another name, and I don't even know what it's called these days.
I'm like, when they get caught, they just find another way to go around about it.
Mm-hmm.
That way, I couldn't be committing a conspiracy theory or nothing, because I'm just like, what? I'm asking them a question. What does the government do? It's like, because the Mockingbird thing, that's a well-known.
That's a fact. MKUltra was a fact. They denied it for years until someone went into a base that they had abandoned, and they were cleaning the base out, and then all these files were found that were left behind. And the program got exposed. Now, you haven't spoke to Lynn Hagerman Scott, who's also a host on the Patriots Prayer Network. She was a victim of the MKUltra program, and many others that we've spoke to throughout the years.
No, the funny thing is, have you seen what's the name of the movie now? Stranger Things, because it's actually based
I talked to the guy.
MKUltra.
Yeah. Well, I talked to the guy who it's based on. And matter of fact, Glenn Baker on the Patriot Prayer Network has also interviewed him. Nate Kane interviewed James Swift, the guy who claims he took the shot on Kennedy.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it's obviously based theoretically and kind of twisted, but the overall is like, okay, one of the MKUltra patients that was done so much to that their kid actually became truly telepathic and telekinesis and all that. And it's like, because when I first started watching, I didn't like it. Then I noticed it started tying into MKUltra, and I'm like, this is actually pretty cool, because this is just like a theoretical, hey, this could have happened.
I talked to the guy on the phone. I have his phone number, right? I got a way to call him and that sort of thing. But the reason I didn't interview him and I didn't follow up on the call was because of some of the things he said in the conversation. And so I never followed through with it. He was an anti-ICE person, anti-everything that I am person. Now, was he involved in this program? I think that's established. He the guy that it's based on? That's been established. So all of those things are true. I personally, a lot of the rest of the things he wanted to talk about as a condition of coming on the show was not something that I was going to platform him over. I just wasn't going to do it.
Yeah. And obviously the rest of the show is just all Hollywood and made up. Obviously they didn't create a break in between dimensions or an upside down world.
They dramatize it, of course. I mean, that's what they do for ratings. But you got Steven Spielberg right now coming out with this movie about disclosure, and that everybody's thinking that he's dog whistling about something. Have you seen the trailer for this show? This movie?
No, I haven't.
Oh, I got to show it to you. Here, let me pull it up. Spielberg. Yeah, this movie is supposed to be wild, and it's about disclosure, and I think it's called Disclosure, if I'm not mistaken. Here it is. So let me pull it up. Every time I'm sharing one screen, I pull something up on a different one. Move it to that screen rather than disconnect everything. All right, watch this. Everybody's like, what is he trying to say?
If you found out we weren't alone, if someone showed you, proved it to you, would that frighten you?
Good morning, Kansas City. Let's take a look at today. Let's today is today's
Mexican food.
People have a right to know the truth. It belongs to 7 billion people.
What is it?
You wouldn't believe me if I told you. So I'm going to show you.
What are you gonna do?
Full disclosure to the whole world. All at once. People keep wondering. Encountering the unknown.
They're coming! They're coming!
They are starved for the truth.
Do you think there could be others?
Why would he make such a vast universe? Yet save it only for us.
So people are thinking that
that looks so good.
People are thinking he's saying something else. And you know, a lot of Spielberg's movies are said to mirror reality in a certain way or whatever.
Well, think about this. You know how
even E.T., believe it or not, look at Maxine Waters.
Oh, well, look at the last couple years, how we've started seeing all these sci-fis that have railguns. And now the military just announced that they have created a railgun that uses plasma to shoot out a metal projectile that is faster than any missile, more destructive, but cheaper than any missile.
Did I tell you that? Here's just an instance of why you probably shouldn't make me sign an NDA. I won't listen to it. I worked for NS Tech out here, National Security Technologies, and I worked in their implementation of Primavera because they were using it for R&D for a DEW that they were making on the test base out here. And going in, we had to go take a bunch of tests and things like this to get something called a GERT cert, G-E-R-T. It's a radiological training program that you have to go through in order to enter the facility. They take your cell phones, they take everything on the way in. There's guys with M16s, all that kind of stuff at the gates. You just can't walk through. But I didn't know this, but right in the heart of North Las Vegas is a nuclear silo. It's just right there.
Oh yeah, there's one in
right by neighborhoods, dude. There's a gas station in front of it.
Okay,
I was like, whoa.
Have you ever driven down I-20 in Texas going out of Dallas?
No, I'm not familiar. Like I stayed on the 35 and I worked in DFW.
I can say, but if you're on I-20, you're going west Dallas, where they're used. I don't know if the Texas is still there, but 20 goes this way, 408 goes this way, and there's this big open little area right there, and the hill above it used to be an Army base, but it's now a National Guard base. Right? And then you see this big Texas shaped in the center of the area there, and it's about the size of a missile silo. It is a missile silo. It's right in the middle of the freaking interstate.
Yeah, well, they have most of our armament and munitions are right here. As far as that kind of defense.
Well, they're spread Midwest, North, Wyoming.
We have entire fields with silos out here, dude.
Well, you got them Nebraska, Minnesota. Nebraska, Nevada, Wyoming, Colorado, Texas, and that's about everything. And the Dakotas.
Yeah, but out here you can drive up the 95 past the test site, look out of your car window to the right, and see the fields of silos. There are just so many of them you can't even count.
Well, the funny thing is when you're up in Nebraska or in that area, you'll be driving, there's these cornfields, and you'll see these little breathing holes that come up in this cement, like little cement air, like these cement blocks that look like the cement underground little building. And the one way to tell that it's a silo is randomly you'll see these black Humvees with 50 cals attached to the top driving an Air Force.
Mm-hmm.
You'll see them driving around with the 50 cal attached to the top of the turret.
You ever want to see those things appear? Go hiking in the Grand Canyon in some certain places.
Yeah, I was watching that one last night about how they claimed that the Smithsonian never went there to investigate that area, but the area that the person that claimed he found it back in the 30s is now a no-fly zone, a restricted area. Even if you try to climb off the edge,
they put a giant iron thing on the cave where he was going in, and said, so you can't enter. But if you even get close to that thing, you're going to see black helicopters show up real fast.
Yeah. So why they claim it's for safety? BS. They allow us to jump out of airplanes. They allow us to bungee jump. It's not about safety.
No. Yeah, but what did he say he found in there? A sarcophagus,
Egyptian stuff.
Art all on the wall that looked very Egyptian, that sort of thing. But the natives that live in that area had different name for the spot, and people need to start listening to what these natives are saying, because they've been telling us stuff for a long time, and we just don't want to listen. Told us about Skinwalker Ranch. They told us about the giants in Lovelock. Said they were red-haired giants, and the lady who put the damn thing out is wearing the red hair on the belt that she's wearing in the interview. She's got the hair of the damn giants around her waist.
But isn't it amazing that all the stuff, all these giants or skulls have been found or stuff have been found, just magically it all went to dust? No, it got lost at the Smithsonian, or it just turned to dust right before they got there.
Oh yeah. Yeah, or they say, it was a dinosaur bone, and no one knows.
Well, that's why I like the sci-fi movie called Warehouse 13.
I think I've seen it. I think I've seen it.
It's about this secret black budget government warehouse that's out in the middle of South Dakota in this undisclosed area, and it's where they hide all of the like Pandora's box and Houdini's wallet and like all the stuff that has these magical powers.
Do they have Archie Bunker's chair? Because if not, I don't care.
I think so. Yeah. I think they have Archie Bunker's chair. They have a lot of stuff. I mean, but
Archie Bunker's chair is in the Smithsonian.
But they kind of play to that fact of this is this, like, even actually in the beginning of it starts the first episode. There's two Secret Service agents. They're setting up an event for the president at the Smithsonian, DC. And then there's this Aztec blood diamond on display or something. And one of the scientists was cleaning stuff, got his blood on it, and it like took over him or something, and it was bleeding from it. And so they took it out of the Smithsonian. It disappeared from the Smithsonian, not knowing where it went. Like even the Smithsonian didn't know where it went, because now it's in Warehouse 13 in this black budget area that only certain people know about. And it was like, it's kind of funny how, but I've always told people, outside of some of the really out of the world stuff, like faster than light speed, wormhole travel and stuff like that. And let me take that out. Let me take wormhole travel out. Just
no, because Trump's own head of technology admitted that they have that technology on TV.
What's that say? Well, that's why I said I took back the wormhole thing. Well, I know there's a Stargate. I'm not going to get into that. I can't say. Let's just say I've talked to some very credible sources But anyways, all the other stuff, if you actually watch the movies about 5 years after you start starting to see like these scientific stuff in movies, like you started seeing corner shots in the late 90s, early 2000s, right? They got declassified in like 2010. The snakes, like snake on GI Joe back in the early 2000s.
Yeah, Cobra.
Okay, the Cobra suits.
Commander.
Okay, those suits were what they were using to entice me to go special ops in 2002. They were DB classified. Now they're unclassified. But that's the point, is that suit was being put into the movie and it was already actually R&D in out in the field. But because the thing is they use the movies to slowly get these little things in there to
They soften the
desensitize
public.
you. Yeah,
they soften the public. They soften the public. Here's Trump's own technologies are right here. Here, let me take it off, put it back on. Here. Listen to what he says.
Passenger planes are slower than they used to be. Our trains crawl compared to those in other parts of the world. Our cars do not fly. Advances have not stopped, but something has gone wrong. Stagnation was a choice. We have weighed down our builders and innovators. The well-intentioned regulatory regime of the 1970s became an ever-tightening ratchet, first hampering America's ability to become a net energy exporter and then making it harder and harder to build. We seem to have lost focus and vision, to have lowered our sights and let systems and structures and bureaucracies muddle us along. But we are capable of so much more. Our technologies permit us to manipulate time and space.
Did you hear what he said?
Yep.
You hear what he said?
And you notice this does say 0, 4, 14, 15, 20, 25.
So much more. Our technologies permit us to manipulate time and space. They leave distance annihilated.
Leave distance annihilated. Manipulate time and space and leave distance annihilated. Meaning we can go from here to there in an instant.
This would go to the 20 and back program. You seen AJ's one on that about the 20 and back program where the girl gets sent through a gate to the outer reaches of the Kuiper Belt?
No.
Yeah, he talks about that one on there. Obviously, there's not much to verify it, but they can't deny it per se or not prove that it's truth. But with that, what he just said pretty much verifies. And also, like I said, I've known some people that have said that we have found the Stargate, that the movie Stargate didn't come come from nowhere.
The movie Stargate had a zaggurat in it, right? Pyramid with steps going up the front to enter.
Well, it had the big
perfect reflection of Gilgamesh's tomb. And when we went into Iraq, that's exactly what we did. We found Gilgamesh's tomb. They claimed it. All of the archaeologists already stated this fact. And then when we went into Iraq, what we found was Saddam Hussein was rebuilding the city of Babel. Now, biblically, God said that place would never, ever stand again. But what did we do when we went into Iraq? I mean, we were told that we went there to liberate the Iraqis and overthrow Saddam Hussein and all that kind of stuff. But what we did was we sent our military men over there to the zaggurat where they were digging, and those guys went in there and they pulled out a bunch of stuff and they took it in the dead of night.
Yeah, but the Stargate TV show that
it looked exactly like this is what I'm saying.
But but it didn't come from nowhere, and it's like that's why it's like. I mean, look at Star Trek from the 70s and 80s. Almost everything on there that was in there, except for the ship and interstellar travel, we have today. And honestly,
I want a holodeck. That's what I want.
And honestly, well, there's hologram decks and holo stuff like that. You just don't. You got to have a lot of money. You got to be a billionaire. But I mean, if we had not ended the space race, we would probably be doing interstellar. Like, have you watched the Apple show that does the alternatives theory about the Soviet Union never ending and the space race continuing, and it shows us on like Mars by
I've heard of people
it shows us on Mars like during Clinton's years.
If you watch Redacted and listen to some of the people that they've had on there, there is a space program that people are actually involved in that say they go to these places. and that it's been around for years, and only now are they speaking out about it. It's called America's Secret Space Program.
Yeah, the second space program fleet. Yep.
But Redacted is the only one with enough guts to actually show some of the things that they show, like the plasma orbs that fly around the MH370, the Malaysian plane that disappeared and no one knows where it is. Well, there was a video that came out that showed the MH370 having these plasma orbs fly around it, and next thing you know, the plane just kind of disappears. And they took the video, and they tried to pass it off as a phony or a fake, but everyone who's analyzed the video has said the same exact thing. They cannot disprove the video. I'll show you the video. Here's the video. This is the one that was on Redacted. And what you'll notice, that's MH370. And you see these orbs that just appear out of nowhere and start flying around it? Watch the plane.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That's not a optical illusion. There's no way.
It's not. No one can debunk the video. Everyone has tried. No one can debunk the video. But the plane just...
Well, that's why I think they finally came out and admitted UAPs are real, but they still won't admit that. I guess they don't believe that we're ready for that. Everybody's ready for, and I still believe there's a lot of people. They actually found,
Did you see it?
But I still believe if the government came out today and said, yes, there are aliens. We have actually they have visited Earth. We have actually worked with them and used them. We have advanced our technologies from them, deconstructing it. There would be people who would literally lose it, and society would devolve because they are not mentally ready to accept that. There are people who are, but not enough of the population.
I say let natural selection take its course. I think that there are aliens that are already here. They're walking around right now.
Well, yeah, I mean, you could go to
society.
You could go to the theory of the lizard people that can supposedly they can change your perception.
Charles Halt talked about the tall whites. Paul Hellyer, who was the defense minister for Canada, brought the folder out in the G20 summit and called everybody out in the whole room in front of the entire world. Yep. And said there were several species of aliens here, and you all got the folder right in front of you, but no one's talking about it.
Well, supposedly it was it? I can't remember which president it was, but he was given a choice to accept help from the tall whites, which they would give him. Like,
you're talking about Eisenhower.
Yeah, Eisenhower. He could get a perfect utopia, but he'd have to give up his nuclear weapons.
Mm-hmm. And he chose not to.
Or the Greys would allow him to keep the nuclear weapons, and they would allow us to get some of their technology, obviously not anti-gravity and all that stuff,
in trade for allowing him to kidnap people.
Yeah, allowing them to abduct and return them, but they had to give the government list of who they were abducting.
Which is the theory of why the men in black show up at the doors of the abductees very shortly after they encounter whoever, right? Betty and Barney Hill is a perfect example of that. There are many such people. As a matter of fact, Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, I think was the movie.
And haven't you noticed on the Roswell, the 93 and then the 95, Roswell reports, there's so many freaking holes in them that make no sense to what the original stuff was.
They zoomed in on the letter that that the dude was holding, and they turned it around and they were able to read it. And they know that he was lying because the orders of what he was supposed to tell them is all right.
Bodies.
Bodies and stuff like that. So there was like 4 little bodies, and it's pretty wild stuff, man. But the thing is that they softened the blow so much over the years, and now they turned the term UFOs into UAPs because it sounds less ominous. And we
unidentified aerial phenomenon.
Yeah, and we accept it. We had members of the UAP task force testify in front of Congress, Grush and the rest of those guys.
Well, they had to start coming out because, I mean, it was getting to the point where there's just too many reports of it, too many cameras. You can't hide it no more. This isn't the 1950s or the 1960s or even the 1990s. There's just too many cameras. There's too much stuff. And the problem is a lot of these that we can't write off as somebody else's high-end technology or somebody else's advanced technology or something are around military bases, and that's a very big national security risk.
The one that still impresses me the most is the one from Colonel Richard Byrd, Admiral Richard Byrd.
Yeah,
that his whole soiree going up into the polar regions, that entire story trips me out, because then on the way back he stopped in Chile and he stopped in Australia and he did TV interviews, which are still available. You can still get them on YouTube. If not, you can get them on Rumble. But he made those videos and he did those interviews. And then when the diary came out that was leaked by his granddaughter, all these people came out and they tried to debunk the diary. And he said, well, the diary's debunked. It's not real. Well, hold up. He's saying the same thing in the diary that he said in the TV interviews.
Yeah. And then explain to me this: if there's nothing in the Antarctic or the Arctic, why can't we go there?
Exactly. They got a Korean kid, a South Korean kid up there right now. And they've been holding for 3-4 months because he landed his plane on a public airway, by the way, a public airfield. He had some type of an emergency or whatever, and he had to land his plane. But as soon as he landed and he got on the ground, they arrested him. They keep it
because he didn't have a permit or approval to land.
Well, they told him to land there because he was having some type of an emergency. However, my theory is that he probably saw something that he wasn't supposed to see, or he might not even have not know that he saw it. Whatever the case may be, he's still being held.
Alrighty. Well,
all right, brother. I
was gonna say we've gone 2.5 hours. It's kind of over. So yeah, I gotta get going too. It's 10:30 my time. All right, man. Well, I'll see you later. Thanks to our listeners. Please check. Obviously, you can check out Eddie whenever he's on. I'm on every Wednesday at 5 p.m. except for this week because of Christmas. Check out the website scrolling across the bottom of the screen. No Kings on the Hill with drhill.com, where you can catch current and previous episodes. Also, all the links to my social media sites. And hope to see you next week.
Yep. And if you want to follow me, I'm doing more stuff on TikTok these days than I am on X. So you'll catch me more so on TikTok these days than you will on X.
All righty.
All right, guys.
Out.